There we go. I think we're live. Everywhere except maybe LinkedIn. So I will see if I can fix that. All right. Hello. Let me know where you are joining me from. I see somebody on YouTube. Say hi if you would in the chat. Hoping I can see folks in the chat. Excellent. Let's get started. I'm really excited to be doing kind of like this mini series on frameworks, ways of thinking about things, tools for deconstructing problems that I have found helpful in my evolution as a leader, as a strategic thinker. And today we are talking about one of my favorite frameworks, the Cynefin framework. Tricky to spell. Pro tip for marketing: don't name your framework something that is hard to pronounce or hard to spell. And yet, though, this framework shines above so many others, we don't have to worry about it too much. It can have the name that it has. So the Cynefin framework is about making decisions and understanding what type of decision-making process to apply to different types of activities or different types of situations. So, and if you Google it, you can see a really great picture. But in the Cynefin framework, we're kind of drawing 4 quadrants. And in those quadrants, we have situations that are clear situations. This is where we have known knowns. These are simple systems. For example, driving down the road in the US, we know which side of the road to drive on, and we have very simple rules. It is a world of facts and simple rules to follow. And when we are in a clear situation, this is the true world of following best practice. There is basically a main right way to do things. And our typical process is what they call in Cynefin framework language: sense, categorize, respond. So that means we say like what is the situation, what rules apply, right? So we categorize it into the right category. So if I'm using the road example, we're in the US, and so we drive on the right side of the road, pass drivers in the left side of the car. If we were in the UK, it would be the opposite. So we categorize and then we respond, typically following the rules or best practice that has been established for that category. In the next quadrant, we have the complicated realm. This is where there are risks, but we know what they are. This is the world where experts shine. In the complicated world, the way we approach problem solving is we sense, just like we did in the clear or simple world. Then we analyze what are the parameters, what are the options, what are the risks involved, and then we respond. And this is not the world of best practice, although people often, unfortunately, apply best practices to complicated situations where we should actually be thinking about good practices, right? So if you've heard in business, right, that was it perfect is the enemy of done or something like that. This is the world of the complicated. Picking a good solution and executing on it is better than trying to find the best solution. There are going to be multiple good solutions, and you just need one decently good solution and execute on it. That is the difference between good practice and best practice. And for experts, a complicated situation is almost like a clear situation to them, right? Because they are familiar with they can categorize and understand very, very quickly. So if you're dealing with a complicated situation and you're not an expert, this is a great time to pull in an expert on that type of situation. Now, where things get quite a bit different is when we move into the complex domain. So in the complex domain, we have unknown risks. So if you've ever been like, oh, we don't know what we don't know, right? That is the world of the complex. And when we're in the complex domain or situation, rather than sense, analyze, respond like we would in a complicated situation, we want to probe and then sense and then respond. So in a complex situation, actually like investigating what's going on is going to start to impact what happens, right? So rather than just sensing, we actually have to start taking, probing around, seeing what's going on, testing some little things. We see what happens. Then that's the sense part. And then we can create our plan, execute our plan. We can respond. So this is the world of the things we don't know. And we are no longer in the best practice or the good practice realm. Instead, we are in a place of emergent practice. So the things that the way our plans are going to emerge out of what we just learned. So for those of you who've been following my work, when we think about the impact method and we think about the way we do cyclical planning. So we're planning and updating our plans every 2 months. This is because we are creating an emergent plan. We are adapting continually to complex changing circumstances for our nonprofits. And then our final quadrant here is the chaotic quadrant. If we're in a chaotic situation, it's really hard to actually make any plan really whatsoever. So in a chaotic situation, we need to actually just take action, see the results of our action, and then respond. So essentially, we're going to act, sense, and act again. Responding, so that second action is responding, but we won't be able to, apply the same thing again. We have to keep just acting, sensing. So responding, acting, response. So our response becomes an action. So we respond, we sense, we respond. It can be tiring. And we don't want to stay in this space for very long. So what we want to try to do if we find ourselves in a situation, a chaotic situation, is potentially add some enabling constraints. We want to see if we can put some rules or parameters into the system that will transform it from a chaotic situation back into at least a complex situation, which is much more manageable to deal with. But it is in chaotic situations that we get novel practice, right? It's going to be new each time. And as frustrating and overwhelming as this can be, it is also a place where something new, a new understanding, something that we weren't even planning to discover gets discovered. Something like that can emerge as knowledge or understanding about something that can later be constrained and then applied into a complex situation. So that's the Cynefin framework in a nutshell. I encourage you to look it up. There's a lot of great work. You can get certified in it. And so next time you are faced with a challenge, an issue, or something like that going on in your organization, I encourage you to ask yourself, is this a clear or simple situation? Is this a complicated situation? Is this a complex situation? Or is this a chaotic situation? And then once you've identified what type of situation you are in, you can use the Cynefin framework then to guide your process of responding. That's all I have for you today. If you'd like to be using the Cynefin framework or the impact method as a strategic planning framework with me, we can talk about that. Go to pivotground.com/application. Tell me a little bit about yourself, hit submit, and then schedule a call, and we will find out if that is a good fit for you. Until next time, all the best.